Hello and good morning. My name is Andy Purcell. I'm with TCS. I am an IT consultant. I've worked with many of you in one capacity or the other, and it's a pleasure to talk to you today about simple steps to improve network performance. This is an issue that I'm sure you hear a lot from your users and your employees whenever they can't connect to the internet, whenever something doesn't print, and this is an issue that befalls all of us, usually at the very worst possible time. So just as an overview, here are the things we're going to talk about today. There's an issue with outdated computers, and that's simply a hardware problem. And today's applications have surpassed the capacity of what those machines are able to do. And that's issue number one. Issue number two that is related is the quality of that machine, even right out of the box. So we're going to discuss the differences between commercial and business class PCs and laptops. The next item we'll talk about is your internal infrastructure. This simply is the networking itself, the devices, the cabling, and all the components that go into your infrastructure in-house and your network. Last, internet connection, probably the one we have the least control over since it is provided by an outside third party, but there are some pieces of our internet connection issues that we can work on and maybe help to maximize what you're looking at. And last, there are discussions around the operating system of PCs, laptops, and servers, and then there are also the applications you're running, their versions, how new or old they are, and then their requirements. So as we launch into our first topic, we'll talk about outdated computers. And the first thing you see, obviously, is the Windows 7 logo. Hopefully, everyone has moved off of Windows 7 machines. There are some ways if you need to maintain them through the end of the year. We can do that with Microsoft, but for the most part, everyone should be moving to Windows 10, if not already there by the beginning of this current year. The average lifespan of a PC is about 43 months. And if you want to take a look at laptops, they're probably a little bit less, not because anything inside is different, just because they are portable and by definition probably get beaten up a bit more. If you want to see an example of this, the major manufacturers, Dell in particular, will sell you a laptop or they will sell you a PC that has a 36-month warranty on it. At the end of that 36 months, you have the option of extending it for a fourth and possibly a fifth year if it's cooperating with you. But you probably don't want to make that change unless it is in really good shape, because they themselves will charge you a higher price because they expect it potentially to hit end of life and perhaps even cease to function during that time. So you want to be sure to keep an eye on that life cycle. You want to try to replace machines every 3 years. Going to 4 might be okay. 5 is really pushing it. So that's something to keep in mind as we talk about the machines themselves. We do want to make sure we're on the current operating system. We want to make sure that we have sufficient memory and storage inside of those machines, even if we have to update those machines as we go. If we talk next about the results or the value of replacing these machines, yes, every 3 years there is an expense. You do probably want to get on a rotating cycle, so you replace a third of them each year. If you go to a 4-year, then you replace a quarter of them each year. But here's an assessment of what it looks like or what it costs you going beyond that recommended lifespan. And it's a 2-year benefit of changing. So if you figure half of these numbers get you what it costs you each year by running beyond the lifespan, and it's lost productivity, it's downtime for the machine, it's how long it takes you to get a task done because of insufficient memory for the application that you're running. Think about today's applications; they are so much more powerful than they were, even the Office suite. But if you're running QuickBooks, if you're running a CAD program, in engineering, the longer it takes you to move those files around, the longer it takes you to manipulate those files, the more chance that you're going to see a reduction in that person's time. And certainly when they have to call the IT staff, that is time that can be eliminated and savings that you can derive by replacing those machines. And I would suggest that if we do that on an every 3-year cycle, we regain that lost time, you probably become more profitable by having more recent, more current machines. Gordon Moore is a gentleman who was one of the co-founders of Intel. But he is most famous for Moore's Law. And what Moore's Law essentially says is that processors will double in speed every 18 to 24 months, simply based upon the amount of programming power we're able to pack into each of those machines. That doesn't even get into dual processor machines, multiple cores within processors, and those kinds of things. It simply says that every 18 to 24 months, you're going to see a doubling in the speed of the processor itself. Now, if we think about that in terms of computing power, by the time you're reaching that fifth year or that fourth year, you're only competing with the rest of the world at a 20 to 25% rate based on the CPU power of your machine. That doesn't even get into memory and storage. It just talks about pure CPU power. So if we think about replacing PCs every 3, you're going to regain that lost processing power by having a new machine. So if we will trust Mr. Moore, puts us in a much better situation to keep our processing power at its highest. The next thing to really consider is what is involved with a business class machine versus a home or a consumer machine. We can all go down to Best Buy and buy very good laptops, very good PCs. On the other hand, we can go down to Best Buy and we can buy an entry-level machine that really struggles right out of the box. And it's not so much that the components inside are faulty; they're just as good. They're simply of a different grade or a different class. The processor itself, you could have a non-Intel processor. There's some great ones. Obviously, Apple puts out some great machines and have high-quality processors. But if you do get some of the third-party processors, you're not going to see quite the power that you're going to get from an Intel processor. Then you're going to look at memory. You're going to look at storage. You could go and probably still buy a machine today with 4 gig of RAM in it. You want to, for a business endeavor, have 8, if not 16, and for CAD, it may even be more than that in the 32 to 64 range. So you want to make sure that you're buying what you need for the task you're performing. Next is storage, and this is a place where there really is a difference. If we're at home storing music and pictures, it's probably not going to get hit very often as far as the drive itself. You could probably still use a spinning drive as opposed to an SSD drive. But in the workplace environment, you're going to be a lot more heavier accessing certain files, certain applications. So you're going to make sure that your storage quality is higher, not just the amount, but the quality. You're probably going to want to get away from spinning drives and make sure you've got an SSD drive. And I think that's going to be one of the keys. And then if we look from there, we next step into the operating system. Windows 7 was great, and it's now obsolete. If you have it, I'm sure you're looking at moving from it. We can help you do that. But Windows 10 is what's being sold today, and it can come in multiple flavors. It can come in a home or a professional version. The home version of that operating system has some limitations to it, particularly being able to connect to a domain that you would do in an office setting. And then there are others that you don't see for a little while as you get into it. But if you buy the wrong machine, you may have to come back and buy a separate copy of the operating system, and the savings that you might have realized are now out the window. So buying a business class machine and ensuring that you're going to get the professional operating system on it will make sure it is designed and purpose built to run on a network in a domain, and your business benefits from that. Security is huge for all of us in every area. Obviously, the better built machines are going to be in a greater position to be more secure. It doesn't mean you cannot lock down and secure a consumer or home grade PC. You certainly can. They do come with some security, but obviously putting it on the domain, putting it behind a firewall, and being able to manage that machine from a central IT is going to make it much more secure. The next one is warranty. All machines come with warranty. What you get at the big box stores is fine for what you need at home. If that machine goes down, you can take it back to the store if you've bought the extended warranty or their in-house service. Otherwise, it may be sending your machine off to Dell, to the manufacturer. The warranties that come with the business class machines and that we sell directly through the manufacturer give you the option of having next business day. Give the option, in some cases, same business day. So the difference in that is 4 hours for same business, 8 hours for the next business day. But more importantly, the warranties that we sell, a Dell technician comes to you. So it's very, very much more important when you're in a business setting to have someone to you that day or the next day and get you back up and running than you having to mail something off or take it to a store. So let's not forget the importance of the warranty and why you want to buy it direct through someone with a contact from a manufacturer as opposed to the Best Buys of the world. And the same really holds for the repairs. Having them done on site at your location is infinitely better and faster than having to send it off. So those last two go hand in hand with one another. Your infrastructure, and this a lot of times is thought of as your network in your office, the domain that you're on, the infrastructure with which your business runs as its backbone. And it's typically, this is comprised of the switches, the firewalls, and the routers. So if we want to start in reverse, the router is just like the router you have in your home, in that it brings internet access and connectivity into the building. It then does internal routing, and depending on the size of your company, you may have additional routers for different segments of the company to route that traffic. In most cases, you want to make sure that you do have a business class router, as opposed to the one that we all have sitting in our house from our cable company or internet provider. And that's going to get you certainly more capability, more capacity, more productivity, more control, and then it will feed, in most cases, into a firewall. This is one of the most critical pieces of running a business, is making sure that you're securing it with a firewall. There are software firewalls. Some of them do come with Windows. On the other hand, if you think about it, before any sort of malware or malicious activity would reach that PC, it's already inside of your network. And so that's why it's important that you have a firewall installed at the perimeter of your network, so that router feeds directly into a firewall, and then from there you're able to control what comes in and what goes out. You're able to look at different bits of the data. You're able to control where it comes from, what sites are forbidden. Are there parts of the country that you don't do business with, and you don't want to make sure that they are that you recognize the fact that if anything comes in from those countries, it's probably malicious. So we want to make sure that you have a firewall, it is up to date, and that it is being maintained for you to make sure that you're not going to get behind it, potentially have any kind of vulnerability as a result. The last piece here in this category is the switches themselves. So for those of you who may not be completely familiar, a switch is the traffic cop. And you see an example of a very small switch there on the screen, but your switch comes in sizes from 4 ports to 16, 64, and they can go up and up. And they have an incredibly high level of capability and capacity to direct that traffic within your company. For most folks, it's a 16 port, maybe it's a 48 or a 24, depending upon your size. But it comes with its own set of called firmware, but its operating system. It is its memory or RAM that's inside of it, just like the firewalls, routers, and PCs. So slow switches slow your network. Faster switches speed up your network. So in our topic today of make sure our network performance is high, the switches, along with firewalls and routers, are two things you want to make sure to keep current and up to date and as fast as possible. The next piece, and it's related to these 3 devices, are the capacity of your internet connection. It wasn't all that long ago that we talked about in terms of ISDN lines and T1s and fractional T1s. You used to have to pay $600 a month for a 250K or 256K ISDN line. If you imagine today what you can get to your house, you can get a 200 megabyte line to your house. I've got 100 in my house, and it costs me a fraction of that. Maybe it's $80 or $100 as part of the cable bill or direct through your provider. So we start with bringing in the right connection, the right type of connection. Do you need fiber? Do you not need fiber? What is it coming into as far as the router? What sort of firewalls are running through? What is controlling that internet and disseminating that signal through your building? Is it wireless? Is the speed of the network degraded by wireless, depending where people sit? How is it configured? Probably not a bad idea to do a heat map and see where your wireless feeds in the quality of the level throughout your workspace. And then obviously the switching for wired connections is going to be very, very important also, to make sure we're getting the entirety of that signal to the desktop. So that's one thing, along with making sure that we're staying up to date on our hardware. We want to make sure that we stay up to date, and probably every 6 months to a year, we reevaluate our internet from a capacity standpoint, a quality of the provider standpoint, and also a matter of what we like to run as far as an application within our business. As we talk with the operating systems themselves, we have a number of different issues here. Security is critical. If you're running an old operating system that is no longer supported, those security holes that are being discovered are no longer being patched. And the great example is moving from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Microsoft will extend your Windows 7 just to the point of providing you security patches if you need them to, at a fee. They do nothing for free, but you can get that security updates. With that being said, your best move is to go to Windows 10. Make sure that you're on the newest operating system. It does get, some cases, daily, certainly weekly security updates. If a hole is discovered, it is immediately patched, and you want to make sure then that you're going to have those most current versions of your operating system. Software drivers are another key part to making sure that you're staying as fast as you can along your network. As printers age, and those peripherals like these printers, maybe it's a copier, as they age, and as you change operating systems, you may have a mismatch with an older software driver. So they put out a faster, better driver. You want to make sure you update it. You change operating systems. You want to make sure that your drivers match what you're running on your operating system there as well. And so let's make sure there are software drivers, both on your machines as well as their peripherals within the office, are as current as they can possibly be. The next piece is application updates. Now, application could be as simple as the Office suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint could be Access, number of different applications that you can run, or it could be your QuickBooks. It could be your inventory management if you're a manufacturer. It could be your patient system if you're running a medical practice. But it's very important that these stay as current as possible, primarily for security reasons, but also for a performance reason. If you're running Office 2007, it's not going to be as up to date. It's not going to be of the quality that the latest version is, and it's also going to perform poorly on a modern network. If you're running QuickBooks, you can decide, do I run QuickBooks in the cloud? Do I run it locally? But the more current that version is, the better performance you're going to get, and also, again, the greater security that it's going to have. The other wrinkle that is thrown into this is, as people are moving more and more to the cloud, Microsoft has their Azure. Certainly QuickBooks can run their software in the cloud. Many other areas of business software have now been written or have been updated so that they can run in the cloud, have been transferred to the cloud. So that does bring up another question. It reduces the load on the network by moving to the cloud. It allows you, obviously, the other advantage of being able to access your data from anywhere, anytime, but it makes a little lighter load on the network, possibly even getting rid of a server or two within your office. And all of that leads to the fourth point there, which is better performance. So if we have a higher level of machine, we have a current operating system, we update all of our applications, or alternatively move to the cloud, whether it be 365 for email and the Office suite, whether it be to Azure to put a server up there for your other applications, all of this enhances network performance. So it's not always about speeds and feeds. There are certainly times when it's about applications and devices. So to make sure as we go back to our lives and we continue to work through our business decisions, we want to make sure that we include updating all of those areas. And I will say, it is true that all of this does come at a cost. There's a price associated with it. Hopefully, we're going to save that in cutting downtime. Hopefully, we're going to save that by reducing the sluggishness in your network. Hopefully, by configuring it properly, having a current switch that is up to date and is as fast as your connection coming in. Making sure that the switches are not fighting with other switches. The worst thing you could possibly do is, when you run out of ports on your 8-port switch, buy 2 or 3 more 8s and put them in a daisy chain configuration. It is much better to go get that 24 or even a 48 with some headroom to grow into than just to simply put 4 or 5 of them in a row where you're going to create conflict. So as we look at all of those different components, it is going to reduce the sluggishness, it's going to reduce your downtime, and we'll make sure that everyone on the network has the proper permissions to access the data that they need, certainly on a local network, but even the same applies in the cloud. And all of this does circle back to security itself. And that is the very key to what we want to do. That brings to an end the formal part of our discussion today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've benefited from it. I do want to mention that we offer here at TCS a network assessment when we come in and have an engineer go through your network, look at each of those machines, each of those devices. What is the age when they were last accessed? What operating system are they on? Is there anything that has been forgotten that might be a hole from a security standpoint? Is there anything that needs to be patched? Is there anything that needs to be replaced? For example, a switch or a firewall that is over 3 years old certainly is going to have some physical limitations, but it's also going to have limitations to that firmware, making it less secure and less functional. So please reach out to us to discuss a security assessment. We can come and perform those on site. We can do those usually in about a day, and then provide you the data back very, very quickly. And then from there, you have a roadmap to make changes, whether you do it through us or you're able to do it in-house, whether we just give you a little bit of direction and advice, you're able to make those steps. I will also say we are offering a 20% discount along with this presentation. So if you will reference this presentation, we can provide you with the assessment at a 20% discounted rate. So I thank you all for your time. Again, my name is Andy Purcell, and I appreciate all the time that you've spent with me today, and I wish you good luck keeping all of your hardware and network up to speed. Wish you all top performance. Thank you very much.